Thank you very much, James, and welcome everyone to our meeting today. I want to go ahead and call the meeting to order right at noon, especially since we have a number of individuals with public comment. We want to go ahead and try to limit the overall public comment to 30 minutes and each individual to 3 minutes. So if you can please try to keep your comments to that or less, then we'll be able to allow more people to speak. So on that note, we'll go ahead and have Hope Kennedy start us off. Hope, can you hear us?
Ms. Kennedy, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. Hang on one second. Can someone else go before me? I apologize.
Okay. The next person up with Charlene Linscott. Charlene, if you want to go.
Hello, my name is Charlene Linscott. I wanted to express my disappointment and concerns with the continued delays in youth sports for our county, particularly with football and cheerleading. The nonprofit organization I volunteer my time with was notified that none of the limitations would be lifted and our season was delayed until possibly October. My question with this is, why are other sport organizations like wrestling and lacrosse able to have their tournaments in the same county that has limited other sports? The lacrosse tournament was in Tampa at a Hillsborough County facility in July. Wrestling is a direct contact sport, which has also held a tournament recently in Tampa. So I'm not understanding why football players cannot tackle and cheerleaders cannot stunt. We have surrounding counties that are opening up their sports with no limitations. The health officials that are advising that youth sports cannot contact and compete are also the same ones, I believe, that approved for the U.S. Bowls to condition and contact since June. The USF Bowls are already in pads and have contact for weeks. We are allowing college and high school football and cheerleading, but not youth football and cheerleading. The organization I am with have followed the guidelines that was provided to Park and Recreation. COVID waivers are required to be signed before a volunteer employer steps on the field. Why are county commissioners unaware of the COVID waivers supplied to Park and Recreation? We have done everything asked of us. It is time to let these kids play with no restrictions. We as parents, volunteers who are also taxpayers deserve the right to choose. My daughter asks me every day why she can't stunt. My son asks me why he can't tackle. I have ran out of things to say at this point because the delay reasonings are no longer valid considering high school is proceeding with their first game in September and schools have opened up to choice. If parents and students can decide to go to school, attend online, and play high school sports, we should be able to have that same choice in our youth sports. As of now, the high school student can play sports, but their younger siblings are limited. That doesn't seem right to me at all. And before I hear the reasoning being due to the amount of COVID cases and our health officials had advised not to, I'd like to remind that Miami, which is considered a hotspot, had a football team play full contact football recently. So to put our county in perspective, Hillsborough County, according to the Department of Health dashboard, as of 11 a.m., had a total of 34,605 positive cases, with a recovery rate of 23,575. So currently, Hillsborough County has 11,030 active cases, which makes up only a 0.8% of our population. So are we really having limitations for a 0.8%? It is time to open our youth sports seasons now. I'm voicing my concerns now and will continue to do so until we have a choice. We need to allow all youth sports to have a season now in our county and, quite frankly, the entire country. Let them play. We want to play. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlene. That's right on time. Hope Kennedy, are you ready now?
Sorry, my husband's having a hard time getting signed in, and he's hollering his stuff at me to talk about. If just put me last, if you would.
Okay. Next is Jess Anderson.
Hi guys, my name is Jess Anderson. I am the president of the Countryside Junior Cougars. And while we are not located in Hillsborough County, we are located in Pinellas, Clearwater, Florida. The majority of the teams that are in our league are in Hillsborough County. We've also been notified that you guys have joined some sort of super region to try and make a united front, which I totally get. My issue is, why weren't we included? We want to do it safely. We want to be involved. We didn't know about these meetings. We didn't get to supply input, any of that, which makes it 10 times harder for us to explain to our parents why they can't have contact, why they've been conditioning since June, and when are they going to be able to. The kids want to play, the parents want to play. We're talking about thousands upon thousands. We've requested guidelines. We've followed what we've been given. I've asked for markers. What are you looking for? You know, is it a percent? Is it the amount of cases? What are our goals? What can we tell our parents so that they know what that is that we get to move forward? They want to play. We're ready. We will do just about anything to make this happen safely. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much, Justin Sanderson. Next up is Justin Glenn. Justin?
I don't see that name on the line, sir.
Okay. Scott Livingston, fresh off your win. Congratulations, Scott, in the primary.
Thank you, Anthony. Can you hear me okay?
Can hear you fine.
Thank you, Anthony. Hello, gentlemen, ladies, to all of you, and thank you for your kind words. I just want to bring up one quick point. I'll keep it short, Anthony, which I don't usually do.
For you especially, the clock is running.
Thank you. All right. What I'd like to bring up is what's going on out at Sportsplex, Championship Park, whatever we want to call it. I understand we are using the USF doctors and their opinions. I understand this is not a Parks and Rec issue as far as the Sportsplex. It is under the Hillsborough County Sports Commission. And I understand that, but what I would like you all to consider and what I would like you all to take back to the commissioners is if we are comparing apples to apples, if these doctors are saying it's not safe for our kids to play soccer, lacrosse, contact sports, which we know lacrosse is, if it's not safe to play at Ed Radis or Skyway or Fishhawk, then how can we determine it's safe to play at the Sportsplex? If the doctor's data show it is unsafe, is there a bubble over the Sportsplex? And of course, I'm being facetious, guys, and I'm being rhetorical, but is there a bubble over the Sportsplex that allows them to hold events that are safer for children? Concession, we've been out there, no mask, no social distancing. And what I would like you all to consider is think about that, why it's not under Parks and Rec. It is under Hillsborough County. The fields are owned by Hillsborough County. How do we determine those fields are safe and others around the county are not safe? And maybe the commissioners don't know about it. I'm not even sure if you all knew about it. But that is my question, more of a rhetorical for you all to look into. It just seems there's some inequities there. It seems like there's a bit, the appearance is we're doing this for money to generate income, so we're going to make sure it's safe to play here, but not elsewhere. I'm not saying that's it. We ask you that you look into it, talk to commissioners, and find out why it's safe in one area but not others. And that's what I would like to bring up today, and I appreciate the talking. Again, Anthony, thank you. Gentlemen, thank you all.
Yeah, right at 3 minutes. And for those who don't know, Scott attends our meetings quite often, so we kid around with him on his talk. But thank you very much, Scott. So
Thanks,
next,
Anthony.
Sure. On our list is Jason Johnson. Is Jason Johnson on the online?
Good afternoon, everybody. Congratulations, Scott. My name is Jason Johnson, and I'm with the Brandon Cowboys Youth Football and Cheerleading Association. We operate at the North Brandon Sports Complex. We also share this complex with baseball that hasn't been allowed to play. Our organization participated in a spring league this year that ended abruptly due to the parks closing in March. At our last game we played in the league, the parents and participants were on edge about being together and it was commonly noted that most people did not think this was a good idea. When the county decided to shut the parks down in March, like it or not, we had a direction that we respected and we followed. We were told to stay at home by our government officials. We were introduced to Zoom and Zoom with our families, friends, and our park volunteers. We were cleared to return to the parks in July if we followed strict guidelines with no contact. We started planning for how we could get a bunch of children together, but also keep them apart. We started mapping out our field to keep everyone at a safe distance. We established contact traceability with attendance sheets. We labeled an entrance and an exit separate from each other. We designated a screening station at the entrance where everyone will be temp checked before they enter the park. And we created a sanitation station. We were ready to accept participants at our park. When we let the parents know we could accept registrations, I was not really optimistic on a big turnout for people wanting to get their kids into youth sports. Surprisingly, we have 42 cheerleaders registered and 110 football players signed up at our park. We're now at our field social distancing, screening, sanitizing, and our parents have been outstanding with cooperation for following these guidelines. The most common thing we hear at our park is that it's good to have the kids out of the house and active. We have been audited by a Hillsborough County employee and our league via in-person field visits. Both visits received positive remarks. The families at our park want to be at our park. Parents have all signed COVID-19 waiver forms. Our parents are keeping the kids out of practice. If the kids are not feeling well, we have had 0 positive cases at our field. We are working together with the parents better than any year I can remember, and I've been there since 2005. I watched a news story that ran on ABC last night where a county official states, "We have not discussed bringing back football competition. I feel strongly if this discussion does not take place sooner than later, we're going to have parents and participants lose interest and drop out of the rec program. We are a nonprofit, all volunteer-based organization. It's not about making money or turning a profit. We are passionate about offering a structured environment where children can learn the values of teamwork, enjoy hard work rewards, and excel as individuals. We need this not only for physical well-being, but for mental stability as well. We have taken all the precautions and we are ready to start our season. Thank you."
Chairman, you were muted. Can you repeat that, sir?
Stephen Smith on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Stephen.
First of all, thank you for allowing so many of us to join the meeting and have the start of what is a voice in these discussions. I am the president of the Northeast Band that's located in St. Petersburg. The reason I am joining the meeting is because we play predominantly all Tampa teams, and what happens in Hillsborough is definitely affecting our season as well. A couple of things that kind of just jumped out of me, and when I was have been kind of watching some of the previous meetings that have happened, I saw that during a discussion of whether to bring baseball back and other sports like that, the concern was that some of the kids were leaving the county or leaving the rec programs and joining travel teams, which could, later on hurt the rec programs in the city and then in the county. The same thing is going to happen to youth football. There's going to be a few people that are going to find a way to go out and play. And I think, that's a more dangerous result of allowing that to happen, because now people in people in Hillsborough aren't going to have as much control. You're not going to have the guidelines. You're not going to be able to watch things as closely as you are. So, I definitely have a concern when it comes to having kids travel outside of our reach and not having control over it. not to mention the rec programs themselves are going to be hurt themselves, and some might not even come back. So I think that should be something that is looked at. Also, it was brought up earlier, but it was said that the USF medical decision was made to not even discuss football yet, but the USF Bulls have been on the field since June. Now, what I wanted to know is when they gave that medical decision, did they actually give case studies or actual scientific data that says one sport is safer than the other? And if so, is there a way that can be provided? And then also, just looking at the data that comes around youth sports, if these kids aren't allowed to play, the effects could be long lasting on a lot of these kids. A lot of them, especially in football, a lot of our kids are considered that at risk youth, and we're forgetting about them when we're not allowing certain sports to come back. Our parents have all signed COVID waivers. We're all insured, and we're all taking proper steps.
Mr. Smith, you're right at 3 minutes, so if you want to go ahead and just wrap up.
Yeah. So just wrapping up, I mean, we've been conditioning for over, a month now. I have 400 kids in my program, and we haven't had one case. I think we can all sit down at the table and come up with a return to play plan with all the cities, something that works for everyone, that everyone feels good about. But at the end of the day, we just need a seat at the table, and the parents need a voice. Thank
you very much. Hope, are you ready?
I am, and the call-in user that just appeared is my husband. He found his way in.
Okay.
We have different things. We have different topics on this. I have a couple of things that I said. I mean, clearly y'all saw the news thing last night. I'm gonna apologize for the way I looked. I was a drowned rat, but I'm also gonna apologize because the comments that I wanted to be heard were not the sound bites that made the thing. Our kids really do need this. I'm concerned because the information we've been given is that the county wants a 5% positivity rate in order for us to get back out there and do this stuff, because we're a high risk, high contact sport. Each football play lasts less than 10 seconds, and 10 seconds is an outside. They want the sustained contact up close for 15 minutes or more. It really doesn't even fall in. Just because the kids make contact doesn't mean it's the sustained contact that they're talking about. The biggest problem I have looking at these numbers, and I am a registered nurse, and I see these numbers every day at work and now through this as well. You see the state positivity rating, you see the state total number of tests and total number of positives. You see the number of total from the beginning and recovered and died and all of that. And in Hillsborough County, we see the number of positive cases a day, the number of deaths a day, but I can't find anywhere, and I'm not the only one, can't find the total number of tests per day in Hillsborough County that those numbers correlate with. So until we can see that, we can't even know that we're getting close to the numbers y'all want. The other thing is, with the health experts being in the medical field, there's not a doctor around who's going to give you the green stamp, go ahead, full on with sports. I listened to the FHSAA stuff, and they took the recommendations, but they still made a choice they felt was in the best interest of the kids to let them go ahead and play. And I am asking that you guys take a hard look at that, but also please include us in the decisions, or at least in the discussions, because there are 35,000, that's conservative, youth football and cheerleaders in this county. That's a lot of people to disregard because people are afraid of liability. We have COVID waivers. Our families want to be here. Our kids want to play. So, we're not trying to be difficult. We're trying to advocate for our children and our families to have a choice in what their children and their families do. The schools gave us a choice to go back or not, go back or go online. I wish you guys would consider that as well. Thanks.
Thank you. So James Kennedy, you're on the line now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to talk numbers. I know everybody's saying everything. I just want to speak. I'm the athletic director and president of the North Tampa Titans, and I just want to put some numbers out there for you guys to digest to see, where we're coming from. I know this isn't about expenses and this isn't about numbers, and safety's more important than dollars, but I just want you guys to understand the magnitude of what we're talking about. You heard Hope talk about 35,000 kids. I believe that's on a low side. We have 55, to my best guess, counting up this morning, of 55 501c3 nonprofit corporations that this is affecting. I can only talk about the Titans expenses. I just want to give you, this is the money that we've spent already this year that we can't recover. We're looking at $17,800 in new helmets and shoulder pads. We're looking at $1,400 in insurance that we've already paid to be out there to condition. We paid $1,000 league dues. We paid 40 volunteers and coaches to be background checked, level 2 backgrounds, concussion training, COVID training, heat exhaustion training. 40 times $59, that's $2,360 that we have in that already. Uniforms are $15,000. We've put $7,500 deposit down on non-refundable deposit on uniforms that you don't get back. If you total that just on the Titans alone, that's $30,060 that we have out right now in money that will not be recovered. And I understand the decisions that you have, the health and all that stuff. My parents come up to me and say, well, hey, let high school go, or hey, they're doing this and that, or hey, the sportsplex they built out there that Hillsborough County logos on and the sports authority's running is having 2 big, massive lacrosse tournaments out there. Well, it's money. I hear softball and baseball is considering it because they don't want them to go to AAU and some of these other things. Well, we're going to lose organizations. There's going to be people that don't recover, that's going to be bankrupt over this. So when we're talking about this, we need to really consider the kids, the family, the cost, the community, the Beef O'Brady's that's counting us to come in there, the Wawas and the this and that's. It's counting on our business. It's essential. This is an essential business. And we really need to look at it like that, not counting, the kids that's hugging us because they're out there. One of my 12-year-olds just lost his mother battling the cancer for 4 years. And if he didn't have us, he wouldn't have anything, So it's essential. This is my 26th year of doing this in Hillsborough County. I know a lot of people out there that's hearing me. This is my legacy, my passion. Please don't take it lightly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's everyone that I had on the list. Allison, are you aware of anyone else that wanted to speak?
I'm not aware of anybody else, no.
Okay, Greg and Billy had their hands up. Did you want to address this specifically now? I'm thinking that may be because all of these comments regard the return to competition update. So I'm wondering if it doesn't make sense for the two of you to speak and anyone else to be able to speak on that subject and in relation to any of these specific questions. Greg, if you want to start.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. For those of you who don't know me or who are listening in, I'm Deputy County Administrator Greg Horwoodell. And there have been a number of comments that, frankly, from the staff perspective, we agree. There's a lot of challenge in how this crisis or pandemic, or as some people have characterized it, a blip. I don't think it's a blip, but some people have characterized it like that, how it's being handled. The county administration is looking at a 5% positivity rate. The number of tests and all the other information can be found on the county dashboard. On the county website. Just search for COVID dashboard, and we have that updated twice a day. So anybody who wants to look at that can. The current positivity rate is hovering around 9%. So part of the challenge that we're facing is because we haven't gone through this before, we don't know what's going to happen when schools reopen. There have been some schools throughout the country that have reopened, and several of them have shut down again because they've had a spike in cases. The best medical advice that we rely on is advising us on contact sports not to authorize that until we see a 5% positivity rate. That guidance is not just from USF, but it's also from the National Center for Disease Control, CDC, and coincidentally from the White House. That's what they've said. So we're trying to abide by that advice. We definitely want to get input. We've heard a lot of concern, not just in this forum, but from a lot of parents. We agree. I played youth sports when I was a kid. Seems like an awfully long time ago these days, but I loved it and had a great time. It was character building. It provided all the benefits that you talk about. The tournament sports complex, I do want to make clear that was funded largely with tourism dollars because it is a venue that the county allows TSA to run. It is a tourism venue. It is not a Parks and Rec venue. They did submit a plan to run the facility, and it involves heavy disinfection, checks on all the players who come in so that there's a level of certainty that they're not going to be infected or infect others. There's no guarantee, obviously, but it is a different protocol. The challenge we have is trying to translate that plan, which is for one facility, to the entire county. We have a number of facilities throughout the county, and trying to make sure that we have the disinfection protocol and the monitoring, it would be fairly expensive. That doesn't mean that we're not considering that. But that is something that we're going to have to quantify the dollar amount. We may look at a certain number of fields that are heavily used so that we can monitor those facilities and not make every facility available. I know Parks Director Rick Valdez is very, very concerned about bringing as many fields into play as possible. He and his team have been working tirelessly on all of these issues. I wish that I could convey to you how seriously we take this. It's not just a cavalier decision. We exist so that we can provide cultural and recreational amenities to our citizens. And this has been a very difficult time, not just for you all, but also for us as we're trying to make everything available in a safe and practical a way as possible. I know that, some folks are going to disregard what I say and say, you don't get it. I really do get it. I wish that we had the ability to wave the magic wand and have this be safe for everybody and go back to the way it was. Unfortunately, that's not possible today. Doesn't mean that that we won't come up with a plan. We are working on a couple of plans. Hopefully we'll have something in the next week or two. We welcome public input, so we'll figure out how best to provide that forum. We work very closely with leagues, and we want to make sure that we're covering as many bases as possible. Not to use a sports metaphor, but I think it's appropriate. So with that, I guess I'll stop. Just want to make sure that everybody knows this is not something that we're just sitting idly by and waiting for something to happen. We have a target in mind. We want to make sure that everybody is as safe as possible. And I know there are going to be people who disagree with what I've just said, but that's the reality that we're facing. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg. Billy, did you want to? I thought your hand was up.
No, that was an accident, Anthony.
Oh, okay. Rick, do you want to go ahead and jump in and get into the return to competition update?
Yes, sir. And a lot of things I have to say echo what Mr. Horadell just said. And I just want everyone to know that spoke today that's still on the call. We really appreciate you guys coming out and voicing your opinions. We value our leagues. We know we have some great volunteers out there, and you guys are doing the best job you can during these times. And please know that all sports are very important to us. We don't look at one sport more important than the other. We are pushing for baseball to come back first. That was primarily because that is the sport that has the least amount of contact. And when we do our research, that is the sport that's easily adaptable to social distancing and when taking all those things into consideration. But it's not more important than soccer. It's not more important than lacrosse. It's not more important than football or any of the other sports. We were really anxious to get kids back on the field in some sort of competition. And we feel like that is the sport that we could recommend to get approved first. And as that sport gets approved and we show that we can do it, we hope that all the other sports follow quickly. We're not trying to hold out on any one particular sport. When we met with our health advisors, they did not want to consider contact sports at that time. And we plan to meet with them again towards the end of September, and that's why we put the statement out that we put out. But it's not an effort to hold back any sport. We know our organizations are having serious challenges right now, and we're doing everything we can on our end to get the support we need to take the next step in the most responsible manner as possible. Our return to just to update you from our last meeting on baseball and softball, to let you know where we're at with that. Our guidelines are complete and they have been submitted for approval. We hope to make an announcement on that soon. Our team is currently working on return to competition guidelines for soccer, lacrosse, and other sports. We have been reaching out to different organizations for input as we get to those different sports. And the guidelines will go through the same process as all of our COVID plans have. And that includes the plans that we had to submit for summer program and everything else that we have opened up. And we'll continue to push to bring all sports back to competition. And we appreciate what everyone is doing out there. We can roll.
So Rick, to get an understanding.
Go ahead.
Rick, to get an understanding then on soccer, lacrosse, and as the other sports are coming up, I mean, we only typically meet every 6 weeks or so. It is your intention as you get these ready, and if it is the county commission's want or the administration's want to have our input, our board's input as well, you will communicate that to us and see if we could get a quick half-an-hour meeting like we had for baseball, so that I don't think anybody on our board wants it to be that, oh, it's ready to go, but the next board meeting isn't for 5-6 weeks, so we have to wait until then.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. As these plans develop, I will be reaching out to you and we'll be calling some additional special meetings in an effort to move these along as quickly as possible.
Thanks. Greg, did you have additional comments on that? Or
just to reinforce what Rick said, he said it perfectly. That's exactly how we want to operate. We want to move these along as quickly as we can. So we appreciate if we do call for a meeting, if you all could see what the best available time is. I realize it's an imposition, but it is important. So thank you for meeting last week, and we will have a decision today, and I expect a favorable decision. I can't say that it's I can't say what it is just yet, but I expect a favorable decision on the baseball, softball, and we'll publicize that as soon as we can. The next one up, obviously, as Rick said, is soccer. So we're working as diligently as we can to get everything back to normal, whatever that looks like today.
Now, I know some of the people that spoke earlier today were saying that they wanted to be able to provide their input. How are you recommending to them so that as you're working through this particular sports that they're interested in, that they're allowed to provide that input? So it isn't them showing up at one of these meetings after we've got a document together.
Right. So that's a great question. What we will do is make available prior to when you all meet, we'll post on the website what it is that we're going to be asking you to consider. I believe we did that last time, but we'll make an effort to have everybody have access to whatever it is we're recommending. Frankly, most of the stuff that we're going to be bringing back to you will be a recommendation to reopen, and we want your input on that. So hopefully, again, when people see that appear, I know that a lot of people track the Parks Advisory Board meetings. So as those come out, as the leagues, and we will, of course, send out notice if there's a particular issue that affects the leagues or anybody else who's involved in youth sports, because we want to make sure the community is aware of everything that we're doing to try and reopen. So we'll take every possible step we can, Anthony, to publicize what it is we're going to recommend and when the meetings are going to be.
Perfect. Billy, is your hand up or is it just not working correctly? Okay, because it's still showing as up. Aaron, you had.
Yeah. Just real quick to kind of confirm what Greg just said. The direction to folks out in the community is to the county website with communicating any concerns or being able to connect with these meetings as well. That direction should be to the website. That's correct?
Yes, absolutely. That's the best medium for people to pay attention to what it is we're going to be providing to you all and when the meetings will be, as well as any COVID-related information, because there is a dashboard. We post that. There's also economic information on there for anybody who has a small business. And although it hasn't been presented to the board yet, I can tell you that we're working on additional support for the community. There's a discussion as to how the nonprofits can be supported. We're looking at that very closely. So there's a possibility, I just say that as a possibility, that we can provide some level of assistance to the nonprofits, including youth sports leagues that are really facing some difficulty. We're going through those guidelines now. We have a limited pot of money, but we want to make sure we help as many people as we can. So stay tuned on that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, Jack, I see you're raising your hand in the video.
Yeah, thank you. I don't remember, I'm not able to find the raise hand button anymore, but you know, we ought to get somebody more technical for this board. I only wanted to suggest, Mr. Chair, that we probably ought to update our county commissioners. This is going to, it's been on the news. There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of interest. Instead of, I think we at least ought to let them know, you know, where we are. I don't think it'll
make sense.
It's certainly not going to change any opinions. It's not going to change any minds, but I think it is important that they at least be aware of the fact that this is going on and there's a lot of interest.
Mr. Chair, I can assure you that each and every county commissioner is aware of the sentiment and they have communicated their concerns to staff. So this isn't a surprise to any county commissioner. They all know we're working as hard as we can to reopen. Every single one of them wants us to be safe, but they also want us to be diligent in exploring options. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, Greg, I was just suggesting we let them know that we are hopefully trying to be part of the solution.
Oh, they know that.
Okay.
We did tell them that you guys were very instrumental in on the baseball softball discussion. We did tweak what we had presented. So again, your input was valuable. And they all know that we rely on you all to help us get to the point where what's going to be best for the community as well as the county. Yeah, trust me, they all know and respect very much the work that you all are doing. They realize it's a difficult situation for you guys as well as us.
Thank you, Greg. I don't see any other hands up regarding this matter. It doesn't look like we're going to review anything more today in this meeting, but just so that everyone's aware, especially our board members, that as these come up, we'll be reaching out and trying to find a date and time when as many of us could be there. If there ever is a meeting that you are unable to attend, please get your thoughts over to Allison so that she could present those so that any concerns you have are communicated in that meeting, but we don't want to continue to delay any meeting when we're looking at possibly opening up for another sport and helping these families have their kids go out and play.
Okay.
All right, on that.
Hey, Anthony?
Yes.
My hand was up. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I had one question for Greg, if it's possible. I know he's going to include the parents and the leagues once the recommendations are made, but is there any way in the process to let them, as you're making the recommendations, that they're heard and that they are part of the process so that when those recommendations are made, they've addressed some of these concerns right on instead of after the fact?
Sure, Joe. And I think that's where we rely on you guys, because anything that we would come up with in a draft form, that is not official and it's not going to be communicated to the board until such time as you all have a chance to weigh in. And that's where we think, frankly, the public comment and the league comment can be best addressed during forums like this, because you guys know what the situation is. And whatever we put in a draft, again, I just want to assure people, is not ironclad. It still has to go forward to the county administration, and then, if necessary, to the board if it's a change in policy. But there was never an expectation that when we put something in writing, it kind of helps people see what we're thinking and where we're headed. So I guess I would say if we get emails, we will of course share those with you all so that you have the benefit of that. If people do want to comment and express their opinion, Rick's probably going to kill me, but I'm going to suggest that they email him or his staff, because once we get those in writing, of course, we will make sure that you guys have that information and that we consider that as we develop the draft recommendation. As I said earlier, I think pretty much almost all of the meetings that we're going to be trying to get with you in the next few weeks are going to be recommendations to open as we start to see how things are going with the schools, how the infection rate is coming down or the positivity rate is coming down. That'll be happy news for all of us, I'm sure. So I hope that answered your question. We'll be happy to collate any information that we receive. Rick, and you have something more?
Yeah, when you're finished.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that we do review all the league's return to play policies that they've submitted for practice. That's one of the items we've been going to get ideas on how the different leagues are handling different situations. And we do reach out to different league presidents at different times to get, bounce things off of them as well regarding some of our decisions. So we do engage with different league presidents. We do have their return to play guidelines on hand. So we are looking at all those things. And of course, they can always email us. Dave Ramirez and his team are out in the field more than ever. We've allocated a lot more resources to the athletics team so we can be out there helping our leagues get through this, making recommendations. They learn things and bring back recommendations to Dave as they work on these plans. So we are looking at everything, and we share information with some of our surrounding localities as well, as was mentioned earlier, with the city of Clearwater, Oldsmar, St. Pete, where we're working as a team to, try to make the best decisions for all of us moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Just, if I'm just looking in the list to see whose hands raised, unfortunately, there's like 4 pages of people. So if you're just waving at me online, I will not most likely see you. But just any of the board members, just turn on your mic if I'm not calling you. But if there's no other items, we'll go ahead and get back to the presentations on the list. The first item that we have on there is a welcome, which is usually just saying hello to everyone. But this particular time, Rick, I know this is your second meeting, but we had stated originally that at the first regular meeting, we would give you an opportunity an opportunity to introduce yourself as our newest board member. I'm sure you've had a chance to introduce yourself to many of the people in the department itself, but unfortunately as board members, we can't communicate with each other than in meetings. So we wanted to have a chance for you to introduce yourself to us, just a quick update, and we would be able to do the same for you, just essentially letting you know how long we've been on the board and any other information that we wanted to convey.
Well, thanks. It's really a pleasure to be a member of the board. So I'll just tell you just a little bit about my background. I'm Commissioner Overman's representative now, so I guess we have a complete board. I'm formerly the general counsel of the Environmental Protection Commission. I retired from that job back on October 1st of last year. And so since that time, I've joined the Carlton Fields law firm. I'm an attorney at that law firm now. I have a lot of experience in environmental regulations and land conservation, from my professional job, but I'm also just a really big sports fan. I raised all of my kids and now starting some grandkids into the Hillsborough Parks and Recreation Sports program. So I've got both fields covered, I think, and I'm just really happy to be a member of the board. I hope I can contribute to some of these decisions, and I know I came at a time when already really tough decisions to be made, and I'm just gonna listen a lot. I'm gonna contribute where I can, and just really happy to be on the board. And I know Greg Horridell. I know Forrest Tuberville from the conservation issues and ELAP. I got the chance to be introduced to Rick Valdez, when he called me up about my appointment. So I'd like to get to know some of the board members. We can't wait till we can actually meet in person, but I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I know Commissioner Overman we had reached out to her a few times about trying to get our 7th member, and apparently she was holding out for a really good one. So we appreciate you coming on board and helping us out and filling that last role. I'll introduce myself. I'm Anthony Sanchez. I'm been on the board, I believe, since 2001. I was off for a short stint when I went and worked in the clerk's office, and then came back after I had left that short stint there. I'm born and raised in Tampa and went to USF. You can see my Go Bulls. And next, we'll go ahead to Jack.
Anthony, I don't remember how long I've been on the board. You were on before I was, but you were off when I came on, I think. I don't remember.
I first joined when Ed Radis was the chair, and I believe Jack's first meeting was after Ed Radis retired and then came back as a board member. Which
my first day and his first meeting, there was 2 first-time Parks Board's member at that meeting, one that knew a lot about parks and one that knew nothing. So yes, Ed and I walked in at the exact same moment at the All People Center. So and what a cherished friendship that became. But yeah, I've been on ELAP for a number of years as well. Forrest is doing an okay job over there. But no, I mean, this board and the ELAP and now I'm on Friends of the Park as well. The work we do is fundamental. It's really, really important, and I'm very proud of whatever contribution I'm able to make there. So, and we're really glad to have a full member board. So welcome. I look forward to seeing you in person.
Thank you.
Thanks. Nathan, are you on? Thought I saw at one point that Nathan had dropped off. So Joe?
Hi, I'm Joe Guidry. Worked with the Tribune for many years. Rick, we worked together some. As recall, I've been on the board about since 2019, and Mary Alice Smith appointed me, and I find I'm also on ELAP and Friends of the Parks, and it's very gratifying, and forward to working with you.
Great.
Nice to be back with you, Joe.
Hi, Aaron Castile. I've been on the board about the same time as Joe, so about 1.5 years now. I have younger kids who are in youth sports, so I certainly have a vested interest, and I understand all the folks who spoke earlier about wanting to get kids back to play. So I'm my kids are essentially a big part of why I am on this board, because I want to have impact and input into the parks that they play in and spend their time with.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Aaron. Harold?
Muted.
Your mic's off, Harold.
Mr. Jackson, I've unmuted you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good afternoon, Richard. Harold Jackson, native Tampan. UT grad, since Tony mentioned, Anthony mentioned USF, UT grad, but native Tampan. Currently working with Tampa Family Health Centers. I think more notably, I'm a 33-year veteran of county government, Parks and Recreation. I've been retired now, moving into my 10th year of retirement. And I think I'm coming up on an anniversary date with the board, but, still very much in my DNA. I knew a lot of these guys when they were puppies, and it's good to see everybody. It's always great to be back with the team. Welcome on board.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
That's Nathan, are you back on? Just saw it said Nathan was on.
Yeah, he's down there.
Okay. Nathan, your mic is still off if you want to. There it is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
And Nathan is our vice chair.
Oh, okay.
I think he's having connectivity issues.
Got it figured out back on. Appreciate it, guys. Sorry about that.
Do you want to just introduce yourself so that Rick knows a little about you?
Rick, the new board member, not Rick Valdez.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, that's going to be an issue, I think.
Yeah, Nathan Danera, nice to meet you. Born and raised in Tampa, Florida, working commercial real estate now. As my family says, my uncle says, born here and plan on down here. So looking forward to working with you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome again, Rick. So
thanks.
Back to old business. The next thing up is an update on the Bacchus Equestrian Center.
All right, thank you, Anthony. Forest Tuberville Conservation Environmental Lands. So at our last meeting, I mentioned that staff was reviewing the conceptual plans for the Bacchus Equestrian Center, I should say the new Bacchus Equestrian Center. And staff has reviewed those plans, a combination of engineers as well as other project managers. They have provided comments to Mr. Pepin. Those comments were sent to him on August the 6th. Additionally, we are in the process of updating the 2017 appraisal for the Bacchus facility and the property on which it's located. The reason for the update is, basically the appraisals are 3 years old now. And according to Florida law, you're really not supposed to use appraisals that are more than 6 to 12 months old. So that update should only take about maybe a month or so. Nothing's really changed with the facility. Everything is still there. Nothing's been subtracted or taken away. The only thing that the appraisers will need to look at are surrounding home values, land sales, things like that. So again, 2 items here. The comments that we sent back to Mr. Pepin regarding the design plans, basically, wanting to get those in better shape than they currently are, something that could actually be permitted and approved through, the various regulatory agencies, Hillsborough County, EPC, and others, and also updating the appraisals. So once all that starts to come together over the next month or so, we are going to be scheduling more than likely an MS Teams meeting, a virtual meeting with Mr. Pepin and his team to review how they're going to address staff's comments related to the design of both facilities. And secondly, we'll be providing them with the updated appraisal numbers. The appraisal is only important in the sense that that is sort of the bottom ceiling, if you will, of what he can pay for both facilities. The reality is that, the 1.4 million, which it's currently appraised at, is only really scratching the surface of how much it's actually going to cost to construct both facilities. Being conservative, probably you're looking at 2.8 to 3.5 million, somewhere in there, for Mr. Pepin to be able to construct the Northwest Equestrian and then also the Sydney Dover facility. So the appraisals really don't worry me that much. It's more of a formality. But nevertheless, because they're greater than 6 months old now, we need to get them updated. And that's pretty much it. With probably not at the next meeting, but at our meeting thereafter, I'll have a better update after we meet with Mr. Pepin and his team.
Thank you, Forrest. So to be clear, if let's say the two facilities, because it's going to be on current county land, right? So the 2.8 to 3.5 is just to build the new facilities, correct?
That's correct. That's what our engineers and project managers have estimated. And again, that's a very conservative estimate.
Okay. And even if the appraisal comes back for our current facility at, let's say, 1.5 or even 2, the discussion is if we are looking to make that exchange, he would still be responsible for that entire amount, not the net of the different. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. So that, again, that's the floor. You know, he has to provide value that matches the appraised value. And right now that appraisal stands at 1.4. But again, from a practical perspective, if you're going to build two facilities, that number is really irrelevant because it's going to cost at least double that.
Right. Yeah. I don't see any hands up. So if no one has any other questions, we'll go ahead and move to the, was there anyone with a question?
No, I was just, I just think we ought to put a stake in the sand on this thing. You know, Forrest, I think at some point in time, we just got to say we're either going to, I won't use the term, but do something or get off the pot. This has been going on for years. So, you know, I'm hoping that we shouldn't have to pay for another appraisal after this one. We should be able to present them with something and get a decision. They either want this property behind their other property or they don't. And the accommodation needs to just, I mean, I would love to get two facilities, and I'm hoping that you'll update us about what the facility is doing down in new business as well. But I just would like to also see this not show up on an agenda in 2023.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Jack. And that's what Tom Foss and others and I are working toward, is to, you know, tell Mr. Pepin, hey, look, you know, this is where we're going with this. Do you want to proceed or do you not? And I agree. We need to put it to bed because it's been out there now for, hard to believe, but going on 4 years. And I think we're all ready to either do it or move on.
And Greg Hordell, you had your hand up as well.
Yeah, thanks, Jack, for your question, and Forrest for your response. Absolutely, we do want to move it forward. I don't need to be an apologist for Mr. Pepin. I will say that he has, I believe, worked on this in good faith. There are a lot of issues that have been brought forward by the current users of Bacchus, and I know he has spent considerable time meeting with some of them individually and trying to address their concerns. So given that, plus some of the environmental issues that he found on one of the sites that he has to address, which will add significantly to the cost, it's taken a bit for them to get to the point where they decided the financial calculus worked for them. So as Forrest said, it will be considerably more expensive for him to construct two facilities instead of just a replacement facility. But as we said, the real goal here is to provide a broader benefit to the community. So he actually met with us, Forrest, I think that was at the end of last year or beginning of this year, and then COVID hit. So it's been kind of one of those things where the timing couldn't be worse. I do believe he's sincere in wanting to move forward. We have told him that, you know, we have a limited time frame. So he is working, from what I understand from our procurement folks, working very hard to address some of the comments that were provided to him. So we should be able to provide you an update at your next regular meeting. And of course, we want to make sure that the amenity is as good for the Bacchus folks as it is for the rest of the community. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Thank you, Greg. I don't see any other hands up, so we'll go ahead and move to the next item, COVID-19 hotel support.
So real quick on that, county staff are still providing some of the administration of that facility. I think right now we have 7 employees that are currently still working there 7 days a week. The objective is to get our county staff replaced by a private contractor at some point in the future. I think the goal is the end of October. I know that procurement is working on a couple of different options right now to get a private company in there to, again, replace the county staff that are there and provide the same job duties and functions that they're providing now. So I would say the end is in sight. I don't know that I could say that a couple months ago, but based upon my discussions with my boss, Dexter, and also Brad Reiner, who is a direct report to me, and I have to say has done a fantastic job with all the other staff out there at the what we call the Q&I Hotel. They're looking forward to getting back to their normal jobs, and the hope is that by the end of October, maybe a little bit sooner, we'll see, they'll be able to do that. And procurement, I know, is working hard on trying to get a private contractor on board.
Thank you, Forrest. I don't see any. Oh, Jack. See you waving. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, sorry, real quick, Forrest. First of all, I think it's too bad it's still going on, but are you back to full strength? You guys, you had some quarantines. Are they all back and on? Or are you still quarantining people?
So we have 2 individuals right now, really, which in the entirety of my department is not a lot. We have 180 employees. So we have 2 folks that are under quarantine. They do not have COVID, but they were exposed to someone who did. So for the last week or so, they've been under stay-at-home orders. They're both feeling fine, so they should be back within a week or so. And that's it. I mean, we went from a high of about 13, 14 folks. Now we're down to 2. So things are getting better on that end.
Great.
Rick, same question.
I can provide you those numbers. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick here. We do provide a updated report every week. I just don't have it in front of me.
We can defer. That's fine. I just was curious. Thank you. Because you guys have enough problems of not have, I mean, you know, doing hotels and having a staff, but I'm assuming that with various parks not open, you're scrambling to find other things for people to do too. But it's insane. But people being out, if it's enough folks, can just interrupt the workflow of a lot of stuff. So anyway, thanks.
I'll send that update to the Parks Advisory Board, Jack.
Thanks, Rick. Next up, FUA update.
Yes. Well, as we work through this time that is unprecedented in all of our experience, as well as our youth organizations, a decision has been made to suspend the plan to bring a new FUA to the BOCC at this time. We feel that the priority is do all we can to help our league partners through this time of uncertainty, and we can reevaluate in a year or 2. I mean, we heard some of the comments today regarding the fiscal situation that they are in. The county is working to hopefully provide some relief to different nonprofits because, you know, this was something that was unexpected and not really planned for. So while we are still eager to eventually get there, we want to take a year or 2 off and reevaluate at that time to see where we're at. Virtual meetings were held with different league representatives and they were advised of the decision. And I think it's the right decision at this time. And we look to maybe revisit this in a year or 2, like I said.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Rick, let's not do a year. Let's just say we're going to look at it in a year and then decide whether we're going to punt another year or not. Let's just to be a little bit more firm than a year or two. I mean, we worked really, really hard. You guys did. We spent money on consultants. Assuming that we're out of this in a year, maybe we can have a 2 or 3 year rollout program, but I don't want all this work to go to waste long term.
Yes, sir. That point is well taken, and that's what we will plan to do.
Great. And Allison, if you could make sure that that's notated for our August meeting, or the closest meeting to August for next year, to make sure that's back on the agenda.
You got it.
Thank you.
And we talked about return to completion, so new business, summer camp
wait,
recap.
real quick, Anthony.
Okay.
I'm excited. I can't wait because I'm so excited to announce that during this meeting, we received approval to start baseball and softball competition.
Awesome.
So
great.
We're making progress. So Dave doesn't even know yet. He's learning right now. So our athletics team will begin to send out the competition guidelines that we've been working on that have been approved by our COVID task force, risk management, county attorney's office, the list goes on, and we'll begin to work with them on getting their plans in and reviewed and approved for a return to competition in baseball and softball.
Is there a date listed on there as to when they can start, or is that still in the works?
As soon as it's going to be up to the league, as soon as they can get their plans in to us, I know the staff will review them and get them back out as soon as possible. I would imagine that a lot of leagues will probably have to hold some sort of registration. I think a lot of leagues just put off registration during this time and order uniforms and do all the things they have to do. But that decision is effective immediately. So we can get back to competition as soon as plans are submitted, reviewed, and approved by the athletics team.
And again, this is just baseball and softball right now, correct?
Yes, sir. And we will continue working on the rest of the sports. But this is a significant achievement for us. As you guys know, we never wanted to take the kids off the field in the first place. I think we all would agree with that. And now that we are starting to see a glimmer of hope, we're really excited to get the kids back out on the fields.
Right. Good news. So next, new business, summer camp recap.
Adrian is on to provide that recap.
Hello, all Parks Board members and attendees. This is Adrian Rouse. I do have a summary for you. So thankfully, we were able to offer essential childcare this summer for many of our working parents in the community. Summer camp lasted from June 8th until August 21st, which initially it was supposed to be June 8th to August 7th. We were flexible with the school board and their decision to offer a 2-week extension until the 21st for a total of 11 weeks of summer camp. So that's a very long time for summer camp employees, but they've done an excellent job and they're wrapping it up this Friday. We instituted some protective measures, obviously, to coincide with our current pandemic. Some of those protective measures were smaller group sizes. We assigned programmable spaces to groups, and they weren't rotating all through the building to limit contact. Staff were also assigned to specific groups and were limited to rotating around so that we could keep that contact to a minimum. We also instituted a COVID-19 safety training in addition to all of our summer training that we've always done in the past. Training was offered 16 separate times to a total of 216 staff. Some of those staff are the ones that work day to day with the children, and others may have been driving around to different recreation sites, making sure that people were following COVID protocols, but we wanted to get everybody trained up just in case. We served a total of 594 campers at the 15 sites. And that's about all I have as far as summer camp updates. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I don't see any hands up. So thank you very much, Adrian.
Sure.
Oh, helps if I pull up my agenda again. Okay, next item is adaptive sports update.
So that will be me as well. So a couple of our updates is we have recently brought on 2 employees, Sage and Aiden. They both are adaptive recreation specialists, and they're both certified therapeutic recreation specialists, which is that CTR-S that we were referring to in past meetings. So we're very happy to have them on board. One took the place of a former employee who was promoted within, so that was great. And another one took the place of an employee who got promoted to another position in another state. So they've since taken our departmental orientation and are eager to start adaptive sports with Hillsborough County. Our plan for return to play proposal has been completed, and we're submitting it for review for executive leadership. We're hoping that we can return to play with some of our adaptive sports beginning in September. This would not include competition in phase 1. It would be more so practices and limited engagement, but just to get them back on the field so that they can continue to exercise. We also joined Move United, so we have a new membership with Move United. Move United is actually a combination of Disabled Sports USA and Paralympic Sport, who both dissolved and combined. Some of the benefits of this new membership for our adaptive sports program is that we're eligible to apply for the Move United insurance program. And when I say we're eligible, I'm speaking for our athletes. So there's also a commercial general liability insurance policy, and then there's one for employment practices, liability insurance, and so forth that also covers the county, but we're self-insured. There's a platinum grant program that we're eligible for, so we can apply for 100% of all the grant opportunities that are offered. There's a platinum training and education program where we become eligible for 100% of the training, and we can also host training opportunities through Move United. There's a network and engagement and sponsorship benefit, and we get to have this opportunity to connect with other adaptive sports programs and also corporate, federal, and national partners and trainers around the country. And then there's event and tournament discounts to our athletes, as well as free job and event listings, so that we can get some of the best when we do have a position come available. And that's all of the updates I have for adaptive sports, unless there's a specific question. Yes, Jack.
I'm sorry.
Jack dropped off.
I'm not sure why my camera is not working. Let me see if I can you guys see me now?
Yes.
It was better before.
It was better before. See me?
Just kidding. No, actually, thank you. That was my question about, and I think some of this came to the Friends as well. Is that right, Adrian?
Yes. Actually, Friends of the County Parks is who paid for our membership for Move United. So we really appreciate their support, and we're excited for their involvement moving forward.
Sorry for that shameless plug, but thank you. I also wanted to ask Forrest about the other side of that adaptive, which is Bacchus. Are you doing anything? Are those kids out there? What's going on? I'm just really curious about how these parents and families are coping when we're such a big part of their lives. So thank you, Adrian. I'm curious about you, Forrest, and the Bacchus Center.
Yeah, so we have not had any activities at Bacchus to date, for obvious reasons. I am working with Jennifer West, who's our manager out there, to come up with a plan for what we call sort of a stage 1 reopening. And that would be, very limited staff interaction with the kids, some assistance with from the parents, and other volunteers. And, so the stage 1 would be basically working with those kids who are functioning at a higher level, don't need as much assistance on the horses, only need maybe one person to be able to assist them as they ride the horses in the arena. So that's part of our plan here, is to go with some of the kids that don't need as much help. That way we're not having to be holding them on both sides. Staff doesn't need to get as close or within that 6 foot distancing rule. And stage 2, we'll go from there once the pandemic starts to subside a little bit more, and then we have a stage 3 plan as well. So in your timing actually is perfect, Jack. I'm going to be getting with Jen West today to let her know that we can go ahead and start implementing that stage 1 plan. And again, it's not going to be a lot of individuals that are going to necessarily benefit from that, but we have a few out there who only need one person near them to be able to keep them stable on the horses and to assist them in their activities. So that's where we're at now. Stage 2 might be a while off. We'll just have to see how things go with the pandemic.
Rick, you had your hand up as well?
Yes, sir. Let me put it down before I forget. I just want to make a comment based off of the summer camp update and recognize our staff. When we kicked off this summer camp, it was right when the numbers really started to go up for a minute there. And while many people were afraid to come to work, some people still haven't returned to work throughout Hillsborough County. We're hearing right now school teachers afraid to come back to school, and it's all for good reason. Our staff really stared this virus in the face, working with these kids in close contact daily. Right now, Jack, I got the numbers. We have 2 people out because of the virus, so we're actually doing pretty good. We've had more throughout the summer months, but the work on the recreation team is really to be applauded. We went into this when there was a lot less information available than is available right now, and they did a tremendous job. We didn't have one situation that resulted in a widespread outbreak within one of our camps. Each time we had a situation with tracing at a camp, it was all because of contact with someone outside of camp. There was never a situation where a kid brought it to camp and infected a whole bunch of kids at the camp. And that's all because of once again, the guidelines we have in place, all the input we received from our medical experts as we worked on those guidelines, and our staff doing a great job of following all those guidelines every day and never putting their guard down, staying vigilant, and coming to work every day and just doing a great job. So hats off to Adrian for her leadership on that. And I just want to recognize all of the staff.
Thank you, and I will pass that on.
Great point, Rick. I don't see any other hands up, so we'll move on to the next item, sponsorships.
So Dana McDonald and Chris Kitty are on to present that. It's one of their projects that they've been working on throughout this COVID situation.
Hello, everyone. Can everybody see my screen?
I could see it, Dana, yes.
Okay, excellent. So as Rick said, Chris and I have been working on this, so he is on the line as well to answer any questions regarding Helm and sponsorships through there. Maybe a couple years ago, we talked about sponsorships, and we've done a little bit more research into it. One of the main reasons we were asked to do this is we continue to grow as a county, and we have some challenges with getting certain funding for certain projects, so we wanted to come up with a creative solution. So really that creative solution was seeing if we could do sponsorships of individual fields, trails, gymnasiums, shelters, kind of looking at those types of amenities to see if we could create some sponsorship dollars. And especially post-COVID, we really think the sponsorship should be more amenity focused versus events, since we don't know when those will come back. And I want to be clear in the distinction. This is not naming rights. Naming rights mean that we have to go through the board. There's a whole list of county policy in order for us to do a naming. So it wouldn't be, Tico football field. It wouldn't be that. These are purely sponsorships, and they would be community sponsorships. We have a great inventory of potential sponsorship amenities available. This is a pretty comprehensive list. I won't go through all of them. We do have program sponsorships available, which would be more of our programs like summer camp, after school, if there's restoration projects, hopefully the hiking spree, and eventually when we get back into it, events. We do have signage and community sponsorship fulfillment, and these are just some ideas. Again, none of these things are set in stone. These are proposals kind of Chris and I looked into. We worked with a local printing company just to kind of get some ideas on pricing and what's available. So those, like the tile that you're seeing on those, could be in our gyms. They'd be removable. We could put these little meeting room spaces. It would be a community sponsor there. So we could certainly do different things with that. We also have, where you have those light pole banners, we could do that in different parking lots. There's ability to do Klingons for your bleachers. That could be indoor or outdoor. There are the windscreens and the bleacher windscreens. These are certainly something we could do. Again, like I said, none of these things are set in stone. These are just ideas that we kind of came up with. We would propose to do this on a sliding scale, and it would be determined on the surrounding demographics, how much the public is using that facility. We would quantify the traffic there, and then also the signage placement. If it's really up in front, obviously that's going to cost a little bit more. We would want to make sure these signs said, "Thank you to our community sponsors," and put that in there. That way, again, we make sure it is a sponsor sign, not a naming sign. This is just some of the examples of the different annual attendance, and then the people that live within a 10-minute drive time from these parks. And we're able to get this information from NRPA. We actually, as a member, we get these demographic reports, and we have those for all of our parks and recreation side parks. And then I know that Chris is working with the team to get them for all of our Kelman Preserve sites that we're interested in doing. So we actually have a baseline for all of these so that we know we're getting the same information across the board. This is just an idea of some of the cost and then the suggested range for these sponsorships. I won't go through all of these, but we are able to do some pretty cool things, like our trail or ground signs. If we were to do something for the hiking spree or something along those lines, it's only $75 to print, and then we can put several throughout. So obviously, the more you print, the better the pricing. So we would be able to kind of do a sliding scale based on, like I said, all of those factors I discussed before. Some more ideas of your windscreens, aluminum signage. And then another thing we were looking into, and kind of spoke with the vendor just to find out how it actually works, but we can potentially do synthetic turf as well. It would be community sponsors, not advertisements, and very clear on that. But you can actually cut out a section of the synthetic turf along the sideline and put the community sponsors there. We could charge between $2,000 and $5,000, and they would have to do a 5-year contract, or we could, 5 years is suggested because of the potential revenue for $21,000 on that. And we can, there's other potentials with that, but really the sidelines I think would be a good place. It wouldn't interfere with play or anything along those lines. We looked into a couple potential sponsors, spoke with our economic development team as well, and they can certainly help point us in other directions as well if we decide to move forward. But financial institutions, they're always available for sponsorships, especially in the community. Car companies and dealerships have a set marketing budget that wouldn't be affected by COVID if we hit them at the right time. And so they're always looking to be in the community. And then, of course, healthcare. They have quite a presence right now, especially. So we have a couple fiscal agent options for these sponsorships. One would be to use Friends of the County Park as our fiscal agent. Obviously, the pros would be their sponsorship dollars would run through a 501c3, and companies can write that off as a sponsorship. It ensures the money goes directly to parks and Kelm, and then it enhances that relationship with Friends, and we have a little bit more flexibility with where we use the funds and what we use the funds for. The cons would be our county attorney did state that this is unprecedented, and we would need to rewrite the agreement of Friends and go for board approval. And in that agreement, we would need to discuss the division of duties, who would create the signs, who would maintain the signs and other sponsorship collaterals, and the financial distributions of the funds collected. So we need to make sure that that was all in the new agreement and it was approved. We would also need Friends to approve and accept each sponsorship to access the funds. And this would mean Friends board members might not be able to be sponsors because of that. We'd have to look a little bit more into that, but that's kind of, that was something brought up. And then, you know, only meeting once a month. So we might have a few, sponsors that might not be able to get in as quickly as they'd like. And then also we weren't sure if Swiggy would be required on all sponsorship signage. So that was pros and cons for Friends of the County Park. And then the other option would be BOCC does have a restricted special revenue fund. We spoke with management and budget, and I know that Denise and Kevin have both been involved in those conversations, and Kevin's looked a little bit into it as well. Pros would be it's preferred by the management and budget department, and also supported by our county attorney. This fund can be a rollover fund year over year, so we wouldn't lose the money like we would in other funds. It can be approved through the county approvals process. Friends wouldn't need to approve that, and then it allows for a multi-year contract, and sponsors can pay one time, and that money would go to the dedicated departments. But because it's a rollover fund, we would be able to use it for several years. The cons would be it's difficult to fund unplanned or unexpected projects or needs because that would have to be budgeted along with our annual budget. So if we do have those unexpected projects, we couldn't pull from here. And the BOCC may see the amount of money in the fund and not approve additional funding for certain projects. And Friends would be unable to pursue that plaque fundraising opportunity that I know they've discussed in their board meeting. So this is just our board policy. We don't have to go through all of it, but basically what it comes down to is the county administrator can approve sponsorships for under $250,000. Anything more than that would have to go to our the BOCC. So we do have some proposed changes for BOCC to kind of make this a little bit easier. And the sponsorships under $20,000, we would like that to be approved at the director level. Right now, the deputy county administrator needs to approve all sponsorships along with the director. So we would hope that this would kind of make it a little bit easier with that $20,000 being the cap. And then social media and web presence for community sponsors, we would want to have in that agreement an allowed number of social media mentions at certain levels and logo dedicated on sponsor pages. Right now, our policy does not allow for those benefits to be included in any agreement. So we would need to get some support on that. This is the current sponsorship approval chain. I don't have to go through all of it, but there is different levels. And then these are our proposed. So basically we would like to maybe say at 20,000, that's where we would go to the assistant county administrator and then our parks board as well. This way we keep everybody in the loop, but for those smaller ones, we wouldn't necessarily need to go through all those approvals. And then if Friends of the County Park becomes the fiscal agent, obviously Friends would be required on that approval as well. Staff responsibilities with this, the manager of community, we would need a manager of community sponsors and corporate relations. They would be involved in soliciting and negotiating the terms, collaborating with legal, managing that contract and fulfillment, and ensuring those funds are received and spent appropriately, and then tracking what we have available for inventory and what's taken. We do have a lot of next steps. We create the comprehensive list of assets. We've started working on that. Also an application, work with our communications in terms of signage and collateral to make sure everything is consistent. Depending on which way we go with the funding, we would work with our management and budget or our legal department. And then we collaborate with athletics to discuss our strategy with leagues and fields, since those are our agreement holders and we want to make sure we're doing the right thing for everybody. Research the demographics for our high priority sites and set that pricing. Work with the graphics company to actually come out. These quotes that they gave were just kind of generic. So we'd want to make sure that we have the correct quotes for any of these sites we're doing. And then also work with our economic development team to identify potential community sponsors. So after all of that, I wanted to know if there's any questions. And then we also wanted guidance and opinions on what you think we might do with how we do the funding. If it's through the BOCC fund that I discussed, or if it's through Friends of the County Park. I know that's been a discussion in the past, and I wanted to get some guidance on that.
Dana, if you could pull out of that, because I can't see, it took over the screen and I don't see where people are raising their hands. There we go.
There we go.
All right, well, I don't see any hands raised right now. I know that this was last presented a while back, and it my recollection was where it was left off as we were having discussions back and forth regarding Friends doing this or not doing this. So our two board members that are on the Friends board, do you want to provide some input as to where things were and the feedback you were getting from the Friends group?
Sure, I'd be happy to. First of all, I'm glad to see we're looking at this seriously. I mean, I don't, whichever way we decide to go, this is money that the county parks and rec and sell them should be going after. We have a lot of real estate we can sell. My opinion, it doesn't, by the way, I think it's what you're talking about is inside the county or outside the county. Friends is just one option outside. You're really talking about it. You're going to have a 501c3 external that's fiduciarily bound to manage the money, or you're going to manage it through the budget office of the county. And in my opinion, you do not want this coming into the county. I'm sorry, folks. You just, first of all, there's lots of folks that are not going to write a check to you because you're not a 501c3, period. It's not going to happen. Second of all, you're going to find you're going to find that the money is going to become replacement dollars all over again. You noted that on your slide, and it's absolutely the case. It's going to be blended. It just will be blended. It's going to be a political football. The beauty of Friends or any other, NFL yet, or any other not-for-profit that we set up that has a board that's fiduciarily bound to manage this money is there's absolutely no politics in Friends at all. And I don't agree with the one point of the slide. This is not unprecedented. The Friends of the Park have raised tons of money inside the parks over years and years and years, going back to Ed Radis, and they have spent tons and tons and tons of money on parks dating back years and years. So I don't know that I agree with that one slide. I can understand why county budget people want to keep it in the county budget. I think it's a bad idea.
Joe.
Yeah, I completely agree with Jack for the same reasons. They also said because we only meet once a month, there'd be some delay. And we have emergency spending decisions all the time. That's kind of I don't think that's a legitimate concern. I think actually we'd probably be a lot more responsive than the county, but I do think we'd just be throwing it into the pool if it went the other way. So,
wasn't there a discussion at one point that if the Friends were going to take this on, that you'd have to hire someone to manage this process and how they'd be paid and so on and so forth? And I recall that discussion was going on for a while, and then the subject went off for a bit.
Well, that's the one thing that's not discussed here. Who's going to go call on Publix or the banks, or that's a big part of it. Selling sponsorships is a full-time or several full-time jobs. The Friends of the City of Tampa Parks, they're lucky. They only have really one big fundraising event, their Gasparilla thing. All that money, they get lots and lots of money, but most of that's from alcohol sales at the Gasparilla event. So, the reason this came up some years ago, and it's been something I've talked about on and off for years, is that many parks departments across the country are getting significant revenue out of these, out of sponsorships. I think we should pursue that. And I think the right way to do that is, whether you have to rewrite the Friends contract or not, or you have to establish a different board or not, I think the right way to do it is as a 501c3 that has a fiduciary duty to oversee and manage this money in a proper manner.
So I guess.
But no, we have not addressed and don't have. We can create as many sponsorships as we want until somebody goes out and sells it. Just creating them is not going to. They won't. People are not going to beat a path to our door to go buy these things.
So I guess then the question is, what's our next step? Aaron, I thought I saw that you'd had a hand.
Yeah, I do. Jack mentioned one thing, and that was one of my questions, but I thought you answered it. Dana, was who would actually be doing the selling on here? And I thought I saw you mentioned there was a county staff member in one of your slides that not a named member, obviously, but that from a position standpoint, that would be the case.
There's a proposal that there would be somebody to handle the community, like it would be a community liaison for that. But again, the agreement with Friends does not allow for that.
Okay, so there was nobody identified to actually sell it.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. All right. And then I have two other real quick questions. Through a couple of your slides, you mentioned those over $20,000 would need board approval. What exactly would they be approving? The amount, who the sponsor is? Just if you could detail that out a little bit more.
Sure. So the county policy as it states right now is any sponsorship period that happens, it needs director level approval. It would need Greg's approval. And then it also needs our director of procurement's approval, because procurement looks to make sure there's no contracts with the county that maybe they haven't paid or anything along those lines. So it's those additional levels to make sure it's, a company that we feel comfortable with, that there's nothing, that might have any sort of, repercussions that we can see. So that's what all those levels of approval are. And right now it's for every single one. So even if it's a $500 sponsorship, we need to go through all of those levels of approval.
Got it. Okay, and then my other question is more detail oriented. And part of the reason I'm asking this question is this is kind of what I do on a day-to-day basis. I sell this type of stuff for the company I work for. So I would curious as to the rates that you're coming up with. Did you have placeholders, or do you have actual research into those? And I would love to be able to guide or help in any way that I could with respect to that, because like I said, I've been doing this for 15 years, and the company that I work for does a really good job at this, and I would love to help if I can.
That would be fantastic. Chris and I did do a little bit of research, and we also looked at what the cost of printing would be. There's certain amenities that might not be worth it. Mm-hmm. So we would want to look at that and make sure whatever we have out would actually be worth going through all of the steps and, wouldn't cost more labor to go through and do the agreements and everything. But yes, we would absolutely love any help or guidance we could get along with that research.
Yeah, just let me know. Contact me directly. I'm happy to.
Fantastic.
Aaron, you're a great resource for that because you've been placing sponsorships on properties, like you said, for 15 years. And my first thought, Dana, when I looked at the numbers, is I thought they were a little light on them. And a lot of these would be annual numbers, and a lot of these would require multi-year. If you're going to print something that's expensive to print, you would get a longer term deal. But these types of dollars with those types of companies are nothing if we can give them a package that shows how they're going to get exposed. The dollars aren't the issue for the decision, even for a small company. The issue is getting in front of them and telling them what they're, what they're getting for their dollars.
Absolutely. We would make sure there would be a proposal for the individual companies based on the locations and, kind of do it almost as a package to make sure that they were to get the best for their dollars. And it also helps us. And basically it's a nice way for us all to get what we need.
Well, Dana, this is my last comment. Thank you very much for pursuing this. It's been a dream of mine. Whichever way you guys decide, or the county decides to go, we're better than where we are today. And I, along with Aaron, and hopefully all of us will help in any way possible, because we have a lot of great real estate assets out there where we can get some additional dollars to help, maintain these facilities.
Absolutely.
So where are we as far as what we believe next steps are? Is it obviously communicating with Aaron to get some guidance on what we should charge, but is the next step also looking at the documentation to see what would have to change if we were to go the route of friends, so that we could at least bring back to the board the two options so that we could determine which one we want to recommend to the county commission as the process?
Certainly. And that would be, I'm sorry, Greg.
No, go ahead, Dana.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, then really the next big step for us would be kind of making sure, however we're doing this fiscally, that's really our next step. We can do the other things as we're working on it, but our next major point would be to make sure we have a place for those funds to go.
Okay, Greg. Sorry,
I just wanted to, first of all, Jack, thanks for actually, you have been a champion for this proposal for a long time, and kind of lay fallow until Rick energized his team. Dana and Chris, you guys have done a fantastic job from what I've seen, not only just today, but also previously. So I'm agnostic as to where the funds land, to be honest. In fact, I've always thought that the Friends this is my personal opinion, would be a better place to be able to solicit the donations. So Joe and Jack, I do tend to agree with you. However, our county attorney has a little bit different idea because they are county facilities. So we could take back your comments and work with them and see if we can get a little bit more creative. Because I think what we're doing is basically granting a license for somebody to, use a facility. I think that's maybe a little bit different way to approach it. If we have a license fee attached to it, it could be revoked. It would have to still be able to be revoked in the event that there was something bad that happened. But I do think that you guys are on the right track and very much appreciate your comments, because we do want to maximize the revenue. We do need to ensure that the dollars that are generated not only benefit the leagues, but also the county. So there's kind of that balancing act in there. I just want to assure you that I know Rick and Dana and Chris will go back and take a look at it. I'll do what I can with the county attorney's office and see if there's, maybe an easier way to accomplish this. Because as many of you who worked with me know, we don't need to make it complex. We just need to make it work, and we need to make it so that it's beneficial for the community as well as the county. So.
Well, Greg, I will tell you, working with Mary Fowler and the folks on the Friends Board who've been there long, Jan Smith, et cetera. I mean, these people are so dedicated. It is unbelievable. And I dragged Joe over there, and he's been a great addition. But the nice thing is that the structure's all there. Right. They spend $0 except on filing their taxes once a year. They're all volunteers. Most of them are ex-employees of Hillsborough County Parks and Rec. It actually is a delight to see their dedication. Adrian will tell you, or any of the when they need to get hot dogs or T-shirts or stuff for something and they need it. I mean, Mary will typically meet them at a Walmart and buy the stuff for them so that we can keep the cost down. I mean, it's the dedication's unbelievable. But this is bigger dollars, and it does take more fiduciary responsibility. It's different than us buying a movie screen or something like that. You know, but at one point in time, the Friends of Parks bought buses. I mean, there were more dollars that have flowed through the Friends organization in past decades. So I think that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We should plagiarize from what other people have done around the country.
100% agree, and that's the conversation I'll be having with the county attorney's office. And I know Rick and his staff are going to be mindful of your comments, and we'll come up with something I think that benefits not just us but also the community.
And if not, go the other route, because you can't not do this.
Yeah. No, hey, you are the preacher. I am the choir. That's absolutely something that we have been focused on. Again, ever since Rick took over, he's elevated it as a really high priority. So I think you're going to see quite a bit of movement. The other thing I want to talk about with the county attorney's office are the approval levels for the dollars. You know, we set those years ago, and they're probably antiquated, but I don't want to get this bogged down into that discussion because that's an administrative policy and yada, yada, yada. So like I said, I want to go back to, I don't want to make it more difficult. I want to make it easier. So we'll focus on that. Thanks.
I also want to give credit where credit's due. That we used to have a board member named Bill Barrett who spent a lot of time on this as well, and a lot of the information that we've got put together. He had a lot of initial thoughts on it as well. So definitely want to give him credit for that.
Yes, absolutely, Anthony. Thank you for that, because absolutely he did. He did keep on us about it. That's for absolute sure. So we do need to, you're correct in giving credit where credit's due.
So thanks also. It sounds like we have some ideas as to what will be worked on in between now and our next meeting. Next item on the agenda is Parks Recreation FY21 budget update.
Yes, so I just wanted to give a brief update on how our approved decision units from FY20 have been put to good use and what can be expected for the next fiscal year as this fiscal year comes to a close. First off, with the Athletic Turf Improvement Program, we've resodded or brought back about 85 of our athletic fields out there. We will be talking with a few leagues to complete a few more as this fiscal year comes to a close. We have 5 new mowers that we've been using that were funded with this DU as well. A 6th one is on order. And talking with the team, I know, and going out there and seeing the fields, I know that we have experienced significant improvements since our staff has taken back the mowing of these fields with our own new mowers, the proper mowers to mow Bermuda grass in place of contracted mowing. So 2 more are funded for next year, and we will keep chugging along and bringing these fields up to a high standard playing surface for all the kids in our community. Safety and security, the next one. We have unfortunately experienced a rise in vandalism at our sites throughout the county. We are thankful to have the support of administration and the BOCC to establish a dedicated park security team. This is something that we've really needed for a long time. There's a lot of Parks and Rec departments throughout the country that already have this in place, including the city of Tampa. The creation of this team has already resulted in us being able to identify the suspects that burned down the lacrosse equipment building at North Lakes. So we're really excited about that. And the way they were able to assist in that is, we're able to have the experience on our team that we can control to go out there and hide cameras in the trees, do the extra things that are sometimes needed to actually catch somebody in the act. And that's what our security team did this time. We were able to catch them in the act with cameras that they had hidden in the trees, and we brought them to justice. So we
Wow.
continue to grow that program. And hopefully, as the word gets out, we will have less vandalism at our sites, because people will know that you may not be able to see the camera, but we're watching.
How many cameras have been added, Rick? I mean, I know we were talking about it a while back about adding cameras.
So the other good news in regards to safety and security for our parks that isn't a part of this DU, it's more a part of the county-wide security program that is a priority of our county administration, is Parks and Recreation is getting close to $2 million dedicated for us right now as it stands. Hopefully that doesn't drop and instead it goes up. We've identified like 35 priority locations, and that's based on, the number of people that we know frequent the locations and history on vandalism and things like that. So that's going to be cameras and such, in addition to our staff and this team that we've been able to form within our department. So for this particular case out in North Lakes, this was something that had been going on for almost 2 years. The concession stand kept getting vandalized, or, if it wasn't one thing, it was another. The agent center in the back, the windows kept getting broken, and we just could not catch them. We worked with HCSO. HCSO would send by deputies. They did what they did, but it wasn't until we had our dedicated team on board. They were able to go out there. We ended up having like 8 cameras on the site hidden at one time, just in an effort to catch these folks, and we finally caught them. So we'll continue working with our countywide security team, and we can't wait to get more cameras out in our parks throughout the county, and hopefully one day we'll have them at all of our parks in different fashions. The next DU going into FY21 is AEDs. So I know it's been a big priority of this board, and we are receiving $15,000, $15,000 or $16,000 in dedicated funding for AEDs, so we can help our youth sports organizations that currently either don't have or not able to afford AEDs. We can provide one for them. And as we mentioned before, we will keep analyzing that situation, analyzing who has them, who doesn't have them. And we know some locations are going to need more than one, but our goal is to at least get one at every site for starters. Next up, I have CAPRA. As y'all know, we are a certified agency by the Commission for Accreditation of Parks and Recreation Agencies in the country. We are up for recertification in 2021. Staff has been working diligently to get all the requirements in place. And although it says $10,000, it will probably be a lot less this year, because most likely it will be virtual, and we will not have to fly in our visitors to recertify us. And last but not least is an update on the synthetic turf field program. This is different than the Bermuda grass field program. These are the synthetic fields. Our capital projects team has been working with the consultant on this. They have been visiting sites, and we hope to have a bid out in the very near future. And then we will start getting those new synthetic turf fields installed. And that's all I have for you today.
Thank you very much. Next up, well, let's see if there's any hands up. Nope. Kelm update, budget update.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. James, do you have that graphic you could put up? Or Allison?
Yeah, give me 1 second here.
Okay, thank you.
Is this what you're looking for, Forrest?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thanks, Allison. So if you recall, a couple of years ago, we went through an ELAP audit. It was an audit of our operations as well as our equipment needs, land acquisition. It was really a full audit of the ELAP program. Well, one of the things that came out of the audit was the need to it not only improve, but also expand our prescribed burning program. So for years, we had performance measures of about 3,700 acres per year to prescribe burn. That's roughly about 10% of the lands that are prescribed burnable within the ELAP program. Well, our consultant, Barth and Associates, who we brought on board, said that while 3,700 acres a year is nice, it's only about 1/3 of what you need to be burning on an annual basis in order to really do two things. Number one, provide protection and enhancement of all the habitats, or at least the burnable habitats on our ELAP sites. And secondly, wildfire protection, especially in the urban interface areas where we have ELAP sites adjacent to brand new developments. A good example of that would be the Riverview, Brandon area in central Hillsborough County. So as a result of that audit, which was actually a great thing for us, we were able to receive in the FY20 budget 7 new positions to form a prescribed burn team. And we have hired for all of those positions, and they're doing a tremendous job. Just can't thank Ross and his team enough for all the work that they've put in over the last 6 months since we've hired that crew, even during COVID-19. So the personnel was one component. We were able to receive that again in FY20. The second component is the equipment. And even though we had requested this as part of the overall FY 2021 budget, of course, each year's budget has to be really kind of approved on its own. So with COVID-19 and some of the other challenges that we have faced, the county has faced over the last 6 months, we were not sure if we were going to be able to get the equipment funded that we had initially requested for prescribed burning. Well, as you can see from the spreadsheet here, at least as far as the county administrator's budget goes, and again, this still has to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners next month, but for the county administrator's approved budget, the prescribed fire supplemental equipment has been approved so far. And that includes a bulldozer, a fire plow, a transport truck, and also a trailer. So these pieces of equipment are really going to be integral in meeting those performance measures that were outlined in the ELAP audit for prescribed burning moving forward. And again, that number is about 9,300 acres per year, which is not, an insignificant amount. So the equipment certainly is going to help us achieve that. Just as a side note, we have been trying to acquire a bulldozer since 2004. So hard to believe that's 16 years, but we finally got it. And really, again, I want to say thanks to the entire audit team our consultant, Barth and Associates, to Greg and certainly Mike Merrill when Mike was here. They were tremendous in their support of this program. Additionally, we received $200,000 additional for ELAP security fencing, and we have also requested and received approval from management and budget to carry over additional funds for fleet equipment. That would be trucks and related equipment. And then finally, our sandbag operation building at E.G. Simmons Park. We are hoping to have that facility completed by the end of September. But given the uncertainty of that and the fact that the funds would run out on September 30th, we were able to convince management and budget to roll over those funds into FY21. So that assures enough funding to complete construction of the sandbag operation building. There's a lot more I could discuss, but those are the major things I wanted to touch on. And again, we're very excited about our prescribed burn crew and all this additional equipment that we're hopeful the board will approve as part of the final budget for FY21 next month.
Thanks, Forrest. Allison, if you want to pull out, so I could look and see if anybody has their hands up. Doesn't look like any hands are up. So moving right to the last item under presentations, remaining meetings. If you pull up the meeting schedule, today being the August 19th meeting, our next meeting is October 1st. As we mentioned before, if there's any special meetings that are required for us to approve to go back to play games schedules, then we'll go for each of the individual sports, then we'll have a discussion about that and let everyone know. But our next scheduled meeting is October 1st. Allison, I believe it's the November 12th meeting that there is a conflict with an online meeting.
That's correct. They can only host one of these at a time, and there's a BOCC meeting that day. So the November one's going to have to be rescheduled, assuming we're still going to be doing this virtually.
What are the options that you had said that are close by to that we should consider going ahead and moving today to? So
the closest ones I could find, we could do the Thursday before. That's November 5th at noon. The Thursday after it doesn't seem available, but the Wednesday, November 18th looks open. And even though we pick a date today, just to be clear, we won't be able to confirm it until later. Yeah, so we could pick one today. Right now I see an obvious conflict. These other ones have no obvious conflicts. So just a disclaimer that it could change again, but November 12th is likely going to be out, so.
Do we want to look to go ahead and move it to December or to November 5th now? If the rest of the board members want to look at their calendars and see if Thursday, November 5th works. And Aaron is giving me a thumbs up. I can't see everybody's face, unfortunately. So
I see Richard, Harold. Yeah.
Okay, so if there's no one opposed, then let's go ahead and tentatively schedule the Thursday, November 12th meeting for Thursday, November 5th. And we will go over it again on our October 1st meeting if that date has to be moved as well. All right, so that's the last of our presentations. Next up is board actions. We have the minutes from the July 9th and then the August 12th special meetings. So if there's any comments, we'll start with the July 9th. Is there any comments regarding it, or does anyone want to make a motion to accept the July 9th meetings as accepted? I see Joe making the motion to accept it. Do we have a second? I can't see everybody's hands, so if somebody wants to turn on their mic and...
I'll second.
Okay, Aaron seconded, so Joe accept Aaron second. So if anyone opposed, please turn on their mic and let us know. All right, so the July 9th is accepted. Now moving to the minutes for the August 12th meeting. Do we have a motion to accept the August 12th meeting's minutes? Okay, Joe accepted. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, was that Jack?
Yep.
And Jack accepted or seconded. Anyone opposed, please speak now. All right, so we've passed the July 9th and August 12th board meeting. So board member comments. Everyone felt like they're talked out for today. All right, no comments. Communication activities, staff member comments. Anyone? I guess everyone does feel talked out today.
Rick's raising his hand.
I have my hand up, so.
Okay, go ahead, Rick.
I'm going to be bringing a recommendation to you guys for your approval and for input. And this is to open up additional amenities on our parks. Those amenities include playgrounds, splash pads, our skate parks, and our shelters. I've consulted with our health advisors, and they agree that these are considered low-risk areas. They are encouraging signs, signage around all these amenities, speaking on encouraging social distancing, personal hygiene, wearing face coverings, hand washing, things like that has become our normal way of life nowadays. But I just wanted to give you the heads up that we're working on that final recommendation, and we will be sending it your way for input and approval.
And is it your view that we would have a special meeting to approve that, or is it your view that that would come up at the next special meeting that we had for some other sport as well?
Depending on how soon we can get soccer together to bring to your attention for approval, I would probably bring this one at the same time.
Okay, good.
So Anthony, hopefully that.
Yes, Greg.
Hopefully that's in a week or 10 days, because we're, as I said earlier, we're working really hard on trying to get all these things pulled together. So Rick's absolutely right. We want to make sure we do it, but we want to do it safely. So look for a meeting invitation coming up soon.
Right. And just, Rick, it'd be good too, is as we're having these and we're accepting them, to have it, if you don't know, you don't know, but to let us know the next sports that we're looking at and how soon we are. So, because a lot of the people that are watching these meetings have a particular sport in mind, and they'd like to have a general idea as to when they think theirs would be up next.
Yes, sir. Will do.
Great point.
Any other communications activities, staff member comments?
Just if I could, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to welcome Rick. You know what? You guys have a great board. You're one of the, I'm biased, but I think you're one of the best boards in the county. So you're only going to get a great addition with Rick Shaws. He's done a fantastic job for the EPC. I know he's going to give you some great advice and join all of you in making great recommendations to the county commission and helping staff. So with that, I'm going to sign off. You've heard enough from me, I'm sure. but thank you so much for your time and attention. What you're doing is incredibly important, and we very much appreciate your input. Thanks all.
Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the kind words, Greg. I appreciate it. I'll get up to speed as fast as I can.
Excellent. Thanks, Rick.
And on that note, if there's no one else that has any comments, I don't see any hands up, so please turn on your mic if anyone else would like to speak. If not, Joe, nope. Okay.
Dave Ramirez is trying to speak.
Thank you. I just want to let you guys know that the athletics team, we have a draft for soccer that we're going to submit by close of business today. And we'll be working on the other sports. So we'll be getting that out to you all soon. And like I said, myself and the team have been working pretty diligently, working with our leagues to keep them up to par. You know, we're coaches as well as they are when it comes to going through this COVID process. So like I said, we'll have something here about soccer at the end of business today, and then hopefully other sports here in the near future.
Wonderful. All right, on that note, we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting, and we'll probably be seeing us all together again within the next 10 days, it sounds like. So a message will go out, and Allison has been doing a great job of following up with everyone to try to find at least a 30-minute window for us to be able to get in and review items and get them approved as soon as possible. So everyone have a wonderful rest of your day and rest of your week.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, all.